Yeah, I just seen the Breakfast Club. Jimmy popping all that. I be seeing you, Jimmy talking about we Gucci boo boo. He in the Gucci store. Talking about we Gucci boo boo. Them like king they was going you up. Jimmy, they was like, Marita Monero.
Jones, right? He ran with the same I ran with a decade before I met him. Jim Jones, the Dipset, the that was just over there dancing and on verses. Jim Jones was running with Shotty, Cafano Jordan, right? Mel Matrix, Jamel Jones, Roland Martin. He was running Fu Banger, Fuquan. I forgot his last name, Fuquan something. He was running with all of the...
50 Cent refuses to let the talk about Jim Jones being an informant fade away. He's back again stirring things up, throwing dirt on Jones' name and claiming he's got new receipts to prove it. If you've been following the blogs and street chatter, you know these whispers have followed Jones for years. It all started when his name surfaced during Tekashi 6ix9ine's trial after a leaked wiretap. On the tape, he was allegedly plotting moves against 6ix9ine, yet nothing ever came his way legally. When the feds swooped in on the 9 Trey Bloods, Jones somehow walked away untouched. That's when people started asking the obvious, how could he be caught on tape discussing serious business but never face a charge? The whole situation fueled suspicions that still haven't gone away. And now, with new drama unfolding online, the questions are louder than ever. Currently, Cameron and Jim Jones are locked in a nasty back and forth, throwing jabs at each other across social media. Their issues go way back, but this round feels more personal than usual. And just when Jim thought it couldn't get worse, 50 Cent stepped into the chaos. Known for being the ultimate instigator, 50 claims he's holding new evidence that paints Jones as a longtime federal informant. So the real question is, does 50 actually have proof? Or is this another case of him stirring the pot for entertainment? And how did Jim Jones fire back after being dragged so publicly? Let's dig into the latest chapter of this messy saga.
But I see the pattern now. If you don't agree to disagree with you and don't want to take it that route,
You've been following Dipset history, then you already know Cameron and Jim Jones have always had a love-hate bond. One day they're moving like brothers, the next they're throwing shots like enemies. Their messy backstory has been playing out for decades, and now it's bubbling right back to the surface. And of course, it all ties back to 50 Cent jumping in with his usual chaotic energy. So what sparked this latest wave of drama? It started when Cam had 50 as a guest on his podcast. During their conversation, Cam revisited a moment that's been bothering him for years. He reminded 50 that back in 2007, right in the middle of Dipset's beef with GE Unit, Jim Jones randomly popped up at one of 50's shows. That move never sat right with Cam, and 50 had plenty to say about it. Not long after, Jim Jones slid over to Justin Lawboy's Respectfully podcast to clear the air and tell his version of events. He stood on his decision to share that stage with 50, saying he wasn't about to let rap politics get in the way of his bag. But he didn't stop there. Jimmy turned up the heat on both Cam and 50, blasting them for even speaking on his name. He went as far as to say both of them owe him major favors. Then Jim really doubled down, claiming full credit for shaping Dipset's entire style. He bragged that he was the one who inspired Cam's legendary drip and even took responsibility for the iconic pink fur coat that became Cameron's signature look. But you already know Cam wasn't about to let that disrespect fly. On his Amazes podcast, Cam clapped back hard, and the way he went in on Jimmy showed this beef is far from over.
Right. He was your man, like on the side, like on the side, just he was not a rapper at all.
Right.
So when balling took place, and I'm looking and I'm going, oh, he having a moment. That's the Lloyd Banks. It's Lloyd Banks thing. He wanted that. He was watching them be that, like Mace be that, and Cam be that, and looked at, and it was finally he had one.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't just shoot back. He went for Jim's foundation, questioning his entire Dipset origin story. He flat out called Jimmy out for faking his Harlem roots. According to Cam, Jim wasn't a real day one from the block, and they definitely weren't grinding together in the trenches like Jones keeps telling people. Cam also wasn't buying Jimmy's version of events when he claimed he saw Mace's son Cam after signing to Bad Boy. Cam shut that down quick, saying Jim only came around way later, long after Cam had already built his name. By then, Cam was already running with Maze, Big L, and his cousin Bloodshed as part of the legendary Harlem crew Children of the Corn Dot. To make things sting worse, Cam clowned Jim for admitting Maze was the one who actually taught him how to rap. The way Cam spun it, Jimmy was nothing more than a little homie trying to fit in with the real Harlem heavyweights. And for someone like Jones, who takes huge pride in his street credibility, that kind of jab cuts deep. But instead of firing off another verbal response, Jim switched gears. He teased a remix of his Harlem anthem, pulling together a powerhouse lineup. With Joel Santana, Vado, Dave East, and even Gucci Mane on deck, Jimmy made it clear he was still waving that Harlem flag proudly. And while he didn't say it directly, everybody in the streets knew it was aimed at Cam.
Go for it. But I was like, we like Jimmy better than you anyway, Cam. Then you gotta watch and see how he responds. And then when you see, he like, oh, like that. Hey, give me this. Give me Jimmy. Yeah, tell him we want you at the show, Jimmy.
But just when it looked like things might finally cool down, 50 Cent showed up again to stir the situation back up. This time, instead of keeping the focus on music, he brought those informant rumors about Jim Jones right back into the conversation. 50 went to Instagram with a picture of Jim standing next to Jay-Z, Diddy, Fat Joe, and a few others, and then added fuel to the fire with his caption, "Lala Individual One calling the shots out here. I know you are working, so please don't say ish to me." The Individual One line wasn't random, it was clearly a reference to the old speculation that Jones may have been cooperating with the feds. To make his point louder, 50 didn't stop at the caption. He also posted the transcript of the wiretapped call where Jim Jones was allegedly heard saying that 669 and wasn't considered part of the gang anymore and needed to be dealt with. That recording came out during Tekashi's federal case and has been brought up time and time again whenever people question how G managed to avoid charges. 50 sharing that document again only pushed those questions back into the spotlight. For some background, this all ties back to the 2018 federal case where Tekashi 6ix9ine was indicted on racketeering and firearms charges along with several members of the 9 Trey Gangster Bloods. That indictment painted 9 Trey as one of the most violent and active subsets within the entire Bloods organization. When the case went public, it immediately shook the industry because of how deep it reached into rap circles and because of the long list of names that surfaced during testimony interviews.
Right. And I need to win. I gotta win in spirit. You heard? I didn't put all this work in for nothing. You dig? I didn't teach myself how to rap for nothing. I didn't jump all on this game to be famous for nothing. I need to capitalize and be just as famous as the most famous, most successful rich person in this game also. I'm now in the game.
I still gotta know, like, how did that work? You performing, like...
They called me like, yo, you wanna come?
The feds had been tracking the 9 Trey Bloods for years, building a detailed case before everything finally unraveled. When 6ix9ine was arrested, he quickly agreed to cooperate in hopes of cutting down his prison time. By September 2019, he was on the witness stand, testifying against his former 9 Trey associates without hesitation. Names like Anthony, Harv Ellison, Aljamia, Nuke Mack, and others came up repeatedly during his testimony. He gave the government step-by-step descriptions of how the crew operated, tightening the case against several members. Jim Jones became tied to the situation when his name surfaced through federal wiretap recordings introduced during the trial. In those calls, Jones is allegedly caught discussing 6ix9ine's fallout with the 9 Trey said. The person he was speaking with was Jamal Mel Murda Jones, a high-ranking member of the crew already under investigation. Their conversation drew immediate attention because of how serious it sounded. For someone as well-known as Jim Jones, the recording carried heavy implications. On that tape, Jones and Mel Murda seemed to be addressing how to handle 6ix9ine after he publicly announced he was no longer aligned with 9 Trey. Jones allegedly stated that 6ix9ine needed to be violated, which many interpreted as a suggestion of physical retaliation. Once those words were revealed in court, the news spread quickly both in the streets and across the industry. The recording was viewed as direct proof that Jim was closer to 9 Trey's leadership than many people had realized. It also raised doubts about what role he may have played in their ongoing conflicts. The impact of the wiretap was twofold. It confirmed that Jim had direct connections to high-level 9 Trey members, and it left the public questioning why he was never charged. Even though his voice was allegedly captured on a federal call talking about possible action against 6ix9ine, no legal consequences followed. This stood in sharp contrast to how harshly the government came down on others. Meanwhile, major figures in the case faced lengthy sentences while Jim remained untouched. That gap in accountability fueled ongoing speculation. Many people began to wonder if Jim Jones was cooperating with authorities behind the scenes in order to avoid prosecution. The theory spread further as fans and critics noted how unusual it was for him to appear on a wiretap and still walk away, without any charges. For some, the situation looked like protection. For others, it was simply an unexplained loophole. Either way, the rumors of him possibly serving as an informant have never really gone away.
You heard? Dan the Cam's pink. You heard? He'll tell.
Nah.
All right. Sooner or later, he gonna have to tell it. Where he got the pink from.
And push me under the bus and say, I ain't start this and I ain't do that. And you started pink and you made the diplomats, which is just, if people choose to believe that, then look.
The loudest push behind these rumors came from none other than Wack 100, who straight up accused Jones of being a federal informant. Wack claimed the only reason Jim never got arrested after that wiretap was because he was already cooperating with law enforcement. He kept repeating this claim in clubhouse rooms, podcasts, and even interviews with 6ix9ine, boldly challenging Jim Jones to prove he wasn't secretly working with the feds. According to Wack, the situation just didn't make sense otherwise. His words added more fuel to the fire and kept the rumors alive. Now Jim, for his part, strongly denied every single one of these allegations, calling Wack a liar and nothing more than a clout chaser. But here's the part that still bothered people. Jim never directly explained why he wasn't arrested after being caught on those federal wiretaps. And while there's no confirmed evidence that Jim Jones is an informant, no paperwork has ever shown him cooperating, testifying, or assisting law enforcement. Even with all that in mind, the absence of charges kept the speculation alive. It didn't take long for 50 Cent to strike a nerve. Jim clapped back at 50 immediately, firing off by calling him a liar and even posting a photo of himself lounging by the pool with the caption, "Why do you keep on lying, LO?" Jim brushed the whole thing off like it was nothing, writing, "I'm going back to sleep. Free Mel Matrix too." It's reversed. To him, this was just another attempt at trolling, but fans weren't quick to let it slide. The questions remained just as loud as before. Even though Jim continued to deny those informant rumors, a lot of people still weren't convinced. Each time this conversation popped back up, people started side-eyeing and asking the same burning question. How did Jim avoid charges when everybody else in 9 Trey got locked up? And with 50 Cent trolling nonstop and keeping this drama alive. Online, it became clear that this was never going to die down anytime soon. The more Jim dismissed it, the more people pressed the issue. Fans kept voicing their suspicions publicly, and their comments showed just how divided the conversation had become. One fan wrote Jim Jones, a high-ranking gang member, telling his cousin, another high-ranking gang member, to basically order a hit on someone, and the one he told it to got arrested while he didn't. That person ended their thought by saying, "Nah, bro. Something stinks in Denmark." And it wasn't just them, plenty of others echoed the same doubt. Another fan jumped in and said, 6ix9ine told the world there were plenty of other snitches. But nobody wanted to listen. Lines like that kept resurfacing on social media, and people were quick to argue both sides. Some believed Jim was clean and just caught in the middle of internet gossip, while others pointed out that the silence around the wiretaps was too suspicious. Either way, with so many voices weighing in, the debate kept spreading further. Now the streets are buzzing louder than ever, and the questions won't stop circling. Was Jim really just lucky, or was there more going on behind the scenes? And on top of that, there's still the tension between him and Cameron. So what's your take on all this? Do you think Cam and Jim will ever fix their broken relationship, or is Dipset finished for good? And how do you feel about 50 Cent dragging those informant allegations back into the spotlight? Drop your thoughts in the comments, smash that like button, and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss the next wild video coming your way.